Gabe. Malik Neighbors, a 2026 first and a 25 second. I know you like to have a lot of pieces to move around, and you can do a lot with that package. Is that getting CD Lamb off you in a 12 team start 10?
Ooh, man, that's definitely a big one. And I agree with you. Typically, man, I definitely am one to have the package side. But CD Lamb, he's the guy. He's the man. I think you really aspire Malik to be a CD Lamb, right? Yeah, I definitely think I want CD actually in this one. So I think we might be a little conflicted in this one. And that's yeah, I know. Just to get things kicked off, right, for us.
Yeah.
I think for this one particularly, again, I think there's just a lot of uncertainty right now around the New York Giants offense. Daniel Jones. It looks like this guy Floodie's ready to go. He's ready to compete with that roster. And so, yeah, I mean, I think he's trying to gun it for it, man. So ship away that 26 first and, that 25 second, and yeah, get yourself the number one receiver, arguably the number one receiver in Dynasty right now.
Bye, Malik.
Yep.
Welcome on in, everyone. It's me, your guy, Ty Declare at Ty Declare 44. Today, I got my man Gabriel Garcia at IGabe7 in the Discord, and we got ourselves another Destination Devi trade show. Welcome on in. Gabe, you are gracing us, the podcast feed, the YouTube feed, with your dulcet tones for the first time. Gabe, how are you doing? And welcome on in, my friend.
I appreciate you having me, brother. I mean, again, anytime I get to talk football with you, it's definitely going to be a good day. I'm super excited to be here and hopefully spread a little bit of knowledge to the community and see if maybe we can get some good trades evaluated here.
Let's get excited. I got the new camera. We got a little new microphone. We got a little
rocking the jersey too.
Oh baby, we are good to go. We're feeling good. It's currently 10:48 p.m. for me, so we'll see how far we get into this. But Gabe, Gabe's one of my Goombas. We play together. We talk ball all the time. If you want to hit up Gabe, see what he's doing, one in the Discord, patreon.com/ALLGAS. Get your trades on this show. Hit up Gabe in the Discord at IGabe7. Just hit him up with any trade question
just
you
bombard
have. DMs are open 24/7. DestinationDebbie.com. Keep up with everything we're doing up over there. Underdog, get your first time deposit bonus of $250 in your special pick with code ALLGAS at first sign up. Gabe, you ready to talk some trades, buddy?
Hey man, let's do it, brother. Let's do it.
Yeah. So when you think about this deal, if you're sending away your 2026 first and Malik Neighbors and your second, you're moving into CD Lamb, you just got to bet that 26 first is late, right? And
yeah.
I mean, yes, Malik Neighbors is going, second, third round to start up. CD Lamb probably at the back end of the first. It's in a 12x10. It's about the hammers. Like I don't.
Absolutely.
It's going to take a little, there's nothing wrong with Neighbors, a first, a second. I can do a lot with that. But it's CD Lamb. And like you said it really well. You're hoping Neighbors becomes CD, right? Yeah. And even if CD is only in Dallas for 1 year, the Dak and CD show breakup, I still kind of feel better about CD's future right now than what I can bet on the New York Giants offense.
Yeah.
Am I off? Should I be higher on Neighbors and give the projection and the beans, really just give into that feeling, or what do you think?
No, man. I mean, I definitely think there's a lot of hype right now around Malik Neighbors, right? That's not a secret at all. Again, I think there's a lot of uncertainty though around the quarterback position specifically there in New York, right? Do you trust Daniel Jones to be lacing him the ball? We've seen a couple clips, right, in practice where it hasn't looked the greatest. But, again, I'm right there with you. If this is a later 26 first, which again, this guy's team looks ready to go, right? Ready to gun for it. I mean, it definitely seems like that I want the CD Lamb side. However, I was going to ask you, Ty, I was going to pick your brain a little bit. Looking at these wide receivers, right? Because he lists out a couple of them here at the top. How many of them, though, do you feel confident in rolling into 2026? And that's definitely a question that I was kind of looking at whenever I initially saw this trade. I mean, you feel good about AJ Brown. You feel good about CD Lamb rolling in with him. You feel good about Devontae Adams. You feel good about Keenan, Hulk,
it's
Javon Baker.
the Adams and the Keelan, right? Like you should feel good about Brian Thomas Jr., Ladd, Polk, Baker, and you just hope that those bets pay off, right? But yeah, I mean, what would Devontae be? Over 33 at that point, like both of them? So,
and Keenan, I think, would be 33, maybe pushing 34. I could be wrong on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
yeah, is it you want to put too many picks on layaway on this team? Like you'd rather keep that in 2026, or that's just what you're saying is like you feel like you got to consider like where your team is at if you're making that move, and yeah, you might be a contender today, but the floor could fall out in certain spots.
Yeah, I think that's more so what I'm kind of saying, right? Again, you're giving up a lot of value here. I mean, because again, we want Malik Neighbors to be CeeDee Lamb, and the prospect profile is there, man. I mean, he looks great. He really does. And so if he becomes right there, then obviously you lose this deal by a landslide. And then the second part you got to kind of think about is, to your point earlier, we can do a lot with these pieces. And do you trust Devontae Adams? Because again, this is still 2 years out at this point, right? Devontae Adams, Keenan Allen, BTJ, I think would be really good. I don't know about Polk. I mean, you hope, right? Javon Baker, Wandale. I don't really know if I, trust those guys long-term per se. So the floor for this wide receiver group, I guess is what I'm saying, could fall out really quick to a point where that 2026 first maybe isn't projected late anymore. And at that point, I definitely feel like I would lean a little bit more to the Malik Neighbors side, but this is a great trade. I mean, this is good for both parties. I can definitely sell it either way. But in a vacuum, I definitely want the CeeDee Lamb side.
Right. So you got to start 10, right? So you got a quarterback, 2 running backs. Let's call it 3 wide receivers, a tight end, a super flex. So really, you're starting about 5 wide receivers a week at maximum. So, I mean, if you have A.J. Brown, Devontae Adams, Keenan Allen, and then you would have had Malik Neighbors at that point.
Yeah.
It kind of feels like with Brian Thomas Jr., Ladd McConkey, Jalen Polk, Javon Baker, and Wandale Robinson. I mean, Wandale really doesn't fit in a 12 by 10 lineup. So, I mean, you can probably just cut him. But Baker, Polk, Ladd, BTJ, they all have the beans behind their name as well, right? They have people like them. Like, they want them to be good. I just feel like you probably could have accomplished something similar without giving up Neighbors and a first. I don't fault you at all for getting into a CeeDee Lamb. But what I don't want to do is make this move and then hold on to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, like 9, 10 receivers where that's on my bench and it's unusable. It's untouchable. You have to do more moves if you're making a move like this, right? Whether that be trying to get rid of the Devontae, the Keenan and move into that, or bet on that 2026. Like, Gabe, would you rather send Neighbors a 26 first and a second for Lamb, or would you rather send like Ladd McConkey and that second and see if you can get like Mike Evans?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's definitely what I'd rather do, right? Again, you lose a lot of flexibility in this trade. Again, CeeDee Lamb is very liquid, right? That's not what we're arguing here at all. But the reality is you lose a lot of flexibility with giving up the 26 first and the 25 second. Yeah. I definitely would have rather have consolidated some of those other wide receivers to upgrade, you know what I mean, at wide receiver, just kind of consolidate a little bit more. But yeah, I mean, this is definitely a doozy for sure. Again, I think you could see it both ways. But yeah, in a vacuum, I definitely think it's a CeeDee Lamb side.
Yeah. If I have CeeDee Lamb, like I probably need Neighbors and a first to make me want to move him. Maybe the second is where you're just getting a little egregious and just throwing it in to get it done. Yeah. But I mean, if I have A.J. Brown, Devontae, Keenan Allen, and all those wide receivers in a 12-team start 10 super flex 0.5 PPR, like I don't really need to. I don't want to climb the wide receiver ladder at the expense of my first and second. I'd rather keep that flexibility, make it work with those wide receivers, but find a way maybe to slim that out even and find my advantages elsewhere. But Floody, I mean, you're not going to be angry when you're looking at CeeDee Lamb on Sunday mornings, right? So like, go get your thing. But maybe it wasn't a deal you had to make today.
Yeah,
is that fair?
Plus, I'm a Texans fan, right? So I gotta give Floody a little bit of grief, right, for acquiring CeeDee Lamb a little bit.
Oh yeah, excellent. Floody, that's a good one to get us started. Let's scroll over to the bottom here. We got Dynasty Alex, an absolute staple on this DD trade show. Well, DTS. We got a 12-team PPR Superflex lineup, start 11. It's a 1.0 tight end premium and a 6-point passing touchdown. So we'll get into the context a little bit after we break it down, but this is a pretty simple deal. Javonte Williams is acquired for a 25 third and a 26 second. I mean, I'm sure if you punch that in a trade calculator, Gabe, it's going to say, give me the picks.
Yep.
But if you have CMC, Kyron Williams, and any running back on a 52, so you've removed the 53 roster, you're just playing with 52. I mean, Gabe, if I have CMC and Kyron, Kyron / Williams, who else is Williams? Jamal Williams?
I think he's saying Williams here after he acquired him.
Javonte. Oh.
Yeah. Javonte after he acquired him.
Yeah, you got me. Yeah. So again, I don't know if I need to get my RB3 at the expense of those picks right now, but how do you feel about moving a second and a third for Javonte in a 12-team start 11 lineup? It's the start 11. That might be the reason, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm right there with you, right? I think in this scenario right here specifically, I definitely think I want the Javonte Williams side. That being said, though, I don't think this is a move that you need to make right now. Again, those assets, and Javonte hasn't played in some time. I mean, he's looked good in the preseason, right? I mean, as most people do, but the reality is during the regular season last year, he didn't look that great. He actually looked very sluggish. I know a lot of people say that, second year running backs coming off of an injury like that, they definitely get better and more explosive, which we did see a little bit in the preseason, which is why I'm okay with paying this price. I just don't necessarily know if this was the price or the move that you needed to make right now, right? I mean, I know he says right there that in light of CMC trying to act his age, I mean, it's still preseason. He's still got a lot of time. I would fully expect CMC to be available day one, of course, barring any further injuries. And at that point, you're probably not even starting Javonte Williams. He's going to sit on your bench for a little bit.
Right. I don't need to have my week one lineup perfect. I really don't. And I don't want to make a habit of trying to bet on week one depth charts with full gusto, because 15 minutes into week one, we feel completely different about half these players. So I'd rather
the preseason, right? I mean, after week one of the preseason, some of these guys are droppable.
We got to get there first, Gabe. Like, geez.
Yeah.
So I get it, right? It's scary hours for CMC, especially if you paid for him this offseason even, right? Like, you haven't even had the payoff of CMC yet, and it's already something happening. But just, I don't know if I'm doing that right now. If you're building any running back on a 53, I would just keep leaning into that and just approach it with volume, and then make this deal when you absolutely need the running back start. When CMC is declared out, someone is going to want your second and a third if you're willing to pay that for a running back. So do you have to do that today? No. Is it a fair price for Javonte? If you have Javonte there, Gabe, are you giving him up for any less than a second and a third?
I mean, I think you would hope for a second. Again, I don't know too many people right now who are willing to pay a second for him until they actually see the production kind of come back. I'd be more than happy to sell him for a second and a third right now. But again, in this specific scenario, I'm okay with buying him. I think for me, another thing, Ty, is I'd rather, could you have just gotten Jordan Mason for a third or something, right? Like in the context of this, right? For example, you kept your second, stayed a little bit more liquid, and that way you had the handcuff just in case CMC did go down, I guess that's where my mind kind of goes. Again, I don't like to give up a lot of flexibility really early on if I don't have to. So yeah, that's kind of where my mind goes on this one.
Yeah, no, the same here. I mean, you might, send a third. You might be able to pay Fab for
yeah, you might be able to pay. Yeah, I mean, hey, honestly, you probably could.
All right. I mean, yeah, it's great. You still have your first. Like, I get what you're doing here. It just maybe isn't anything you have to do right now. And just because you have your first doesn't mean that we can just throw around the second and thirds willy nilly and then it's free game. But I mean, yeah, like I get it, right? Start 11, you want to feel good, you want to have it locked in, and Javonte absolutely could be a starter, right? And at the cost of a second and a third, Gabe, what, do you have to enter your lineup 4 times to really make that worth it? Quote unquote.
Hey, he was the Dynasty RB2 a couple years back, wasn't he?
You're right.
I mean, I guess the one thing I will say is people really like Javonte Williams, right? And so as soon as he does anything of relevance, the odds are he's probably going to go up in value because a lot of people like him. I mean, and that's just the reality of it. But again, Broncos just aren't a very good team right now. They got a lot of things to figure out, and that just makes it even more difficult for the running back position. So yeah, that's really ultimately my thoughts on that.
Yeah. I think the last thing I'll say on this is if you are building any running back on a 53, by going out and paying a second and a third for Javonte right now, yes, you're going to want to build and use those running backs when they have projected opportunity, but you're never going to capture those spike weeks, like those ones that go fully missed, if you don't build a little bit lean and a little bit scary at running back, right? Because if you're building that way, then really you're just housing running backs until they're useful. But the real edge can come when you're not paying for that production at all, at least out the gate. And you might be able to capture one of those maybe it's a kick return, right? That goes in and check your league scoring. Like, is there any boosted scoring for kick returns, right? Because we're probably going to see some more kick return touchdowns and yards this year, just if I had to guess, right? Yeah. So there's more ways to approach that. And if you truly are building any running back on a 53, I don't want to half-ass that, all right? Like it's good to have that kind of and build that way just for ways to use your roster. But I don't feel like you're maximizing that if you're paying a second and a third for Javonte week 2 of the preseason, Yeah.
Agreed. Cool. 100%.
Well, hey, Alex, still a good deal. We got T, my old co-manager in the Heisman Best Ball Battle 1. T, it's not his trade, but it is trade show worthy. It's a 12-team start 11 Superflex PPR 1.75 tight end premium. Hub 92. Got Maserati Marv Harrison, Luke Musgrave, Marvin Mims, and is it Tucker Kraft? Tyler Kraft?
Yep.
Tucker Kraft. Yeah. Whatever. And for Sam Laporta, Christian Kirk, Kyron Williams, and Jake Browning.
Jake Browning.
I was going to say, there's a lot of moving parts here, but clearly Jake Browning is the best part of the deal. Gabe, in a 12-team start 11, I'm assuming lineup PPR 175 premium. There's a lot of premium assets being thrown around here.
Yeah.
How do you approach a deal like this? It's a 4 for 4. There's good pieces on the other side. How do you approach a deal like this, and what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, first off, Terrell just absolutely giving us a difficult one here, right? To kind of kick things off for us. But the way that I would break this down is, one, definitely the tight end premium aspect of it. So you want to kind of break down assets and try to see if you can kind of compare them one another. For example, Christian Kirk, Marvin Mims. I would want Christian Kirk over Marvin Mims. And then you would go down to Kyron Williams. Let's just say Luke Musgrave. I would want Kyron Williams a lot over Luke Musgrave. Jake Browning for Tucker Kraft. Yeah, I mean, I don't really care either way, truth be told. Even with the premium, again, you're getting the insurance, right? Because you have Luke Musgrave. But really, then it comes down to how do you feel about Marv versus Sam Laporta? And so basically, tight end 1 versus wide receiver 4, 3, 4, 5, somewhere around there in Dynasty, right?
Yeah.
Oh, and man, I think with the tight end premium being 1.75, this might be a little bit of a hot take, Ty, but I think I would want the guy that I know has done it before, man. I think I'd want Sam Laporta. Again, I think the delta between Marvin Mims and Christian Kirk I think it's pretty handily, over Marvin Mims. Kyron Williams, you want light years ahead of Luke Musgrave. And so those two deltas already added on to the Sam Laporta side. That give me that side. I mean, by a good little bit, even if you are giving up Marvin Harrison Jr., in my opinion.
It's funny because your eyes immediately go to Marv, right? Because I haven't seen a lot of Marv move, but I think as we're getting closer to the season and people are really getting excited, I think we're seeing a little bit more of a move here. Mm-hmm. And I would say he is the best piece in the deal. So that's where your eyes go.
Absolutely.
But I mean, you got Tucker Kraft and Luke Musgrave, both tight ends for the Green Bay offense. I get it. You're going to want probably one of them, but doesn't that just feel like a lineup headache on Sundays where you don't know which one to start and you're probably going to start the wrong one? And then at the end of the day, you're probably like, why do I even want this? Like, why don't I just take a tight end from another offense versus trying to figure out which one of these guys? So, it just feels like it's not really the guys that I'm aiming for in a 175 tight end premium. I still want to roster probably a certain threshold of guy, or I don't want to pay for guys of like Musgrave or Kraft's level, right?
Well, I guess let me ask you this.
Yeah.
I was going to ask, I mean, is there a world where Christian Kirk produces very similar to Marvin Harrison Jr.?
If I'm putting on like Cody's projections
For just this year.
I'm just putting this on, right? I just feel like I do think that I would project Marvin Harrison to just simply have more volume for the type of role he would play in that offense. But absolutely. I think absolutely Christian Kirk could be the guy who falls into the end zone more and scores just as much, or probably about 80% of what Marv could give you in his rookie year.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely no denying that. Again, you want Marvin Harrison, right? And that's very, very clear. I mean, I want Marvin Harrison. He's a band player, right? By any means necessary. You definitely want the guy. But the reality is that, in my opinion, if you're trying to compete, I think Christian Kirk can give you enough of Marvin Harrison Jr., whereas Kyren Williams is going to outscore Marvin Mims, Luke Musgrave, and, Tucker Kraft. And then Sam Laporta is definitely going to outscore all of those guys too, So that's really where it goes. And again, you're getting the tight end one, so it's not like you're really losing a lot of dynasty value or ADV really, because again, you're getting great assets. I mean, Kyren Williams is a great running back. Sam Laporta is a great tight end, and Christian Kirk is a very good threshold wide receiver.
Yeah. I'm going to pull this up here. A little bit of war for the people. So this is a 175 tight end premium league that I'm in. I just want you to take a look here really quick. So this is the wide receiver line, the blue line, right? You can see it does have that escalating top, and then it flattens out. Again, dynasty ranking wise, you're looking at Marv in that top 6, but what are you really expecting from him year 1, right? That's my question. And then you have Sam Laporta in a 175 tight end premium, where I just bet that week over week he'll fall in this top 5, right? And it does feel, and again, you can't look at that and directly correlate that to points and how you should value things. But what that should tell you is having a difference maker at tight end, it can mean more to your lineup than the difference maker at wide receiver. And so if I'm looking at this from a pure production standpoint, Kyren Williams, Christian Kirk, Sam Laporta are going to trounce Marv, Musgrave, Kraft, and Mims. And Jake Browning, I would happily send my Tucker Kraft to get Jake Browning, because I'll just keep going any quarterback on a 2-deep strategy. Just have that be my roster spot. But I mean, you're getting 2 hammer quality production assets in like a Laporta and Kyren, Christian Kirk, who is a threshold plus guy at wide receiver in a 12x11, and you're just getting out of muck and headaches on Sunday of which one to start. But you have to get Marv to do it.
I mean, and that's worth something, right? At the end of the day, in a lineup league. And I don't see why you wouldn't be able to turn around and package up Kyren and Kirk for a great wide receiver 2. You know what I mean? Like a high end wide receiver 2, low end wide receiver 1, maybe. I definitely think that could get pretty close to it. And so now you're telling me that you get a high end wide receiver 2 and Sam Laporta, right? I mean, it's really, like I said, I definitely want that side by a landslide right now.
Yeah. No, so it's a good one. Maserati Marv makes it sexy, but yeah, give me the Laporta side, and I'll pay the shipping and handling to get that one done.
You packed the bags already, right? His bags were packed.
I mean, we got the old FBI, open up. Yeah, that's a bit of a robbery there. Paul R. Clark gives us a 10 team Gabe, 1 quarterback, start 8. Okay, so we are in shallow land. Okay, so old Jesse C1 acquires Trey Benson and a 2026 second, a 1 quarterback, 26 second, and they get back Javonte Williams and Christian Watson. So this might be the Javonte Williams show.
Hey, it just might be, but Trey Benson, Javonte Williams, 26 second, Christian Watson. Gabe, I'll tell you this. 10 team, it makes me want that pick maybe a little bit more. I like having some hopium and some flexibility, things that I can sell. Yeah, I don't even like Christian Watson or Javonte, but I'm just going to take that side of it and just say I'll get more points and I'll figure it out. I mean, really and truly, I agree with you. I think right now, the second in a 1 quarterback league for 2026, that is so far out. Like, again, and it's not a premium asset, really. Even if it's a 201, then maybe, right? But at the end of the day, I'm right there with you. I definitely want Javonte Williams and Christian Watson. I really do think right now too, there's a lot of ADV with Trey Benson. Yeah, I mean, I definitely want that side by quite a bit as well on this one too. Just think you can do more with those guys.
I was just gonna say, and not even what you can do with those guys. It's if I don't even like it. I don't really like Javonte or Christian Watson, but if I get those guys, doesn't that make the guys you have on your roster more flexible because you've built in like this threshold floor? So getting that Javonte can make you feel more able to send away that Gibbs for the right deal. Getting that Christian Watson can make you feel better about sending away that Jalen Waddle. You know, like there's some of that hidden value here where Trey Benson on a 26 second, they're flexible. Yeah, they're young. Yeah, they can be. I'm not going to call a 26 1 QB second sexy, but you know it could have that at some point, and it's not going to die. But just give me Javonte and Watson, and let's just
you can figure it out later. That's the right thing right there. You can figure it out later. You can get another second if you need to in a one quarterback league later on. And the reality is Christian Watson, you can get a second for him anytime. I mean,
you'd hope, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, cool. Okay, Floody, we don't got to go over CeeDee Lamb again, but we got Brienne here with a 12 man start 10 tight end premium league. They sent away Mark Andrews and they got back Amari Cooper, Jamison Williams, and a 2026 first. It says tight end premium, Gabe. I don't know if that's 3.5 tight end premium or what we're talking about here, but if you're giving me Cooper a first and JMO, I don't even need JMO back, really. And again, at this point in the year, we're in preseason, we're right about the point scoring season. I care a lot more about production and what that means to my roster, right? So it has to make sense. And adding Cooper in a first, I know many teams that I would send that out for. And I don't know what that tight end premium is, but I can figure that out. You know, I could probably figure that if you give me Cooper and a first and then JMO just tossed in. Cool.
I mean, yeah, the reality is you can go buy another really good tight end probably with that 26 first and even a dart throw, right? And you can get something serviceable for sure. Again, we don't know what the tight end premium is. And outside of it being a extremely high tight end premium, Amari Cooper will probably outscore Mark Andrews this year. And then you're giving me a first to make another move. Again, buy another tight end if you need one. And then sure, I'll take JMO if you're going to give him to me for free. I mean, you know.
Right. Okay.
Figure that out. That's kind of how I see it for sure. I mean, I know it's not fun giving up Mark Andrews because he is a really, good tight end for sure. But in this deal, yeah, absolutely. Give me Amari Cooper all day.
I'll put that JMO with that first, see how high I can climb with the wide receiver ladder. Screw it. Right?
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
And Brian also sent in this one, a 10-man start 9, 1.5 tight end premium. They acquired Kelsey. They sent away Diggs and Rico Dowdle. So Gabe, 1.5 tight end premium. It's not earth-shattering. It's not like a 1.75 is where it really starts to matter in my mind. Kelsey is a positional difference maker no matter how you cut it, though. But our resident Texan fan here can probably tell you Stephon Diggs is probably going to be, hold the record here, pretty damn good in a high-powered offense, right? And just like that previous deal, do you think Stephon Diggs is just going to outproduce Kelsey at the end of the day?
I do, man. I do. I know that there's a lot of stink right now on Diggs specifically, right? Just because it's a crowded wide receiver room. It's a crowded, just overall offense. There's a lot of great playmakers on the team. Take it from somebody who has watched the Texans for a very long time. I think they will definitely give the ball to Diggs and he will be very, very good this year. Again, I definitely want Diggs for sure. And again, Rico Dowdle right now, I mean, you never know. Like he could take over the backfield or could be a very good running back too for the Cowboys, which at the end of the day is still worth having. Maybe not so much in a 10-man start 9, right? Because it's a little bit more It's a little bit more shallow, but the reality is like he's still a serviceable piece that you could definitely ship away if you needed to, or if you needed a backfill, for your CMC or somebody else that gets injured, he might be able to fit the bill for you. But yeah, I want Diggs for sure.
Now let me come at you a different way here. He's a
All right.
10 man start 9, shallow of shallow leagues.
Yep.
So you need hammers, you need positional difference makers, you need to take the big swing. Does getting the positional difference maker in Kelsey, is that worth it to send? And let's say you're constructed well at wide receiver, like you have enough. Yeah. Like, is getting into the positional difference maker worth it for you in a format like this, or is it just something that you wouldn't send a deal like this where you're giving up a Diggs for the Kelsey?
I just think the tight end premium isn't necessarily enough in this, right? Again, I know we had talked about roughly around 0.75 is really where you start to see the biggest difference. And 0.5, he's going to be very good. Reality is, though, is that he is a lot older, similar to Diggs, but he's not really that liquid anymore. And I think for me, again, you're telling me he's not that liquid anymore. Diggs will probably outscore him, and you're giving me an extra piece on top of it just as a throw in. I mean, that's kind of where I just lean, where I just want the guy who's going to outscore for the points this year.
Yeah. I'm 2.0 tight end premium. Give me Kelsey. Start 2
absolutely.
tight end 1.5. Give me Kelsey. I just don't think this is the format. Like it's shallow enough that I get it, but I don't think I'm sending this specific package, and it has nothing to do with Rico Dowdle. Nothing to do with Dowdle.
No, it doesn't.
Right?
It doesn't.
So,
like I said, just 1 for 1 though. Who do you feel like would outscore? I mean, do you feel like Diggs would outscore Kelsey this year?
Yeah, I think as a general bet, wide receiver outscores tight end. Even the elite producers, we're in some pretty crazy formats where we do see those tight ends outscore most of the wide receivers. This ain't it. This ain't one of them, right? And like you're in formats like this, your tight end 1, 2, 3 are probably producing more like your wide receiver 20 through 30. Right, like probably, and I bet Diggs will just be more than that.
Yeah, I agree with that. I definitely agree with you there.
Cool. I can see it from maybe like a lineup week over week, stability angle, but that's not generally how I like to play. But good deals. Tight ends are on the move. We like to see that. And Jay Cox, 9109. Old Jay Cox is in the house with a 12-team start 9 Superflex. The first projects late. The second projects mid. They had no starting running backs, but they still have 4 2025 firsts. So they sent away Michael Wilson and Will Levis, the Mayo Man himself, and they got back James Cook. Gabe, admittedly, I'm not a James Cook guy, so I'm gonna go to our resident James Cook. No, I'm kidding. You're not our James Cook consultant. I'm kidding. But how do you feel about giving up Will Levis, a quarterback, Michael Wilson? Probably a roster clogger in a 12x9. I like Wilson, but it's probably a roster clogger in a 12-9 lineup. How do you feel about giving that up for James Cook?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. It's pretty much Will Levis for James Cook right now, and that's kind of how you feel. I mean, being that the position that he's in, clearly he said he has no starting running backs. I'd imagine this is not his QB2, at least I would hope not, in a super flex league. But I mean, just give me James Cook, right? If you need running backs that bad, again, I don't really think Will Levis has like the highest ceiling either. Whereas I do believe James Cook could be a very good running back this year, especially now that kind of Diggs has departed the Buffalo Bills. And, I think it might open up a couple more targets for him out of the backfield. So I do think that that's kind of where I would lean for this specific trade and just this scenario specifically with James Cook.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think I just still want Levis here just because I know it's a quarterback and it. Here's the thing. I get it. Getting the running back when you need one in a 12x9. James Cook could be like a difference maker. Again, I'm very biased. I just don't like James Cook. Sue me. I just don't. Right. I just don't. And I don't even really like Will Levis per se, but Will Levis has already overcome the hard part. He got drafted. He got thrown into a difficult situation. He had a regime change. And he's still the face of the franchise. So I do want to give him some credence. They surrounded him with, Calvin Ridley, the corpse of DeAndre Hopkins, and Tyler Boyd, right? So cool. In a 12x9, I do want to make sure that I am right at quarterback. And Will Levis, I don't think he's a positional difference maker, but I know the way I like to play, I would probably make use of that Will Levis more than I would that James Cook. Again, I'll send away Mike Wilson. That's not an issue. And if you have a quarterback room that's Brock Purdy, Jared Goff, and Baker Mayfield, buy Will Levis. I'll do that for sure. But we don't really have that context. And you're telling me if you have four 2025 firsts,
you could go buy a running back and probably a much better one too.
Probably, right? I'll tell you what I'm not doing, Gabe. I'm not sending away my 2025 first for David Montgomery in a 2025 second. Bruh. Come on, man.
I mean, hey, Gibbs got injured. I mean, yeah. What do they say? Yesterday's price is not today's price.
Yesterday's price is definitely not today's. Yeah, you can spin that narrative all you want. I mean, until Gibbs is actually missing games, I'm not sending or accepting this offer. It's just your classic. It's a falling knife asset and a second for a first. Now, again, you're saying that second is going to be mid and the first projects late. The latest that first can be is still 12, and it's still going to have a 1 in front of it. And I don't have to do anything with that pick. Technically, I could put that pick on layaway, not worry about it. Yes, you have 4 first. That's awesome. That doesn't make your other first less valuable. And in that situation, I almost want that first more because I have more of a stake and more control over a single draft versus taking an absolute health bet on Monty being like, what would Monty have to be in this scenario to be worth that for you, Gabe? Like a top 12 running back all year?
Top 12 easily. Yeah, top 12 for sure. I mean, again, we know right now the 2025 class has some very good running backs coming in.
Yes.
And so you're telling me that I could potentially have another chance at getting one of the really, really good high-end running backs, and all I have to give up is Monty in a second? Sign me up for it, right? Yeah. Again, I want the pick for sure. I think in this scenario, maybe they capitalized a little bit on the Jahmyr Gibbs injury, but it's just not what I want to do with my picks, especially right now in the beginning of the year. The season hasn't even started. College hasn't even really started either. Like, it's just, there's so much hype that those picks will accumulate over time. And again, a lot of people don't even know who's in the 2025 class, truth be told. But, there are some very good prospects that could be coming in, especially at the running back position. And this is not a move that I would want to make right now.
Yeah. So I get why you did it. It's just not really the move that I'm making. But hey, it might work out for you. So, good luck there. But yeah, even if that's late, I just don't feel great about it. So,
and I think to your point too, I mean, real quick, just going back to that, I mean, you control the draft. So you would have had 5 picks. You would have almost had 50% of the draft picks.
Guaranteed to be able to get David Montgomery in a second come draft. Yeah, you try sending that for a late first, as soon as the season ends, and you're getting laughed at. So we're in a different season for sure. And I care about production. I care about good construction. That doesn't mean I want to pay a first to make that happen 2 weeks before we're even starting football, right? Like,
hey, I'm the biggest guy, Ty, and you know this. What teams have you seen me rebuild on? Hardly any. I don't think I've ever really rebuilt. I'm always gunning for it, but the reality is again, you just have to kind of know when to move those picks, and I just don't think right now is that time, and not for that price.
Yeah, agreed. Sloppy Eric is a small one. This isn't going to get any bigger for the people on YouTube, but for those listening, this is a 12-team Start 11 Superflex PPR 175 tight end premium. The first projects to be early to mid Gabriel Garcia. If I'm giving you that Trey McBride, who we've made a couple of Trey McBride deals this offseason, I'll send you that Trey McBride, a second and a third, if you give me that Pitts in an early 2020, early to mid. We'll give it early to mid 2025 first. My brother, are you taking that deal? Are you giving me Pitts in that first or that McBride second and third?
I'm pretty sure you've sent me something similar to this. Have you not?
I'm pretty sure I have. Yeah.
Oh man, no. I mean, I don't really know what to say here. Pitts in the early first by quite a bit. Again, I love Trey McBride. And I definitely, again, we've been talking about production a lot in this video. So I do believe Trey McBride will outscore Kyle Pitts, and that's not a secret. But the delta between an early to even mid first for a second and third, I mean, it's night and day. Yeah. I mean, this is pretty straightforward. I really do want the Pitts and the first side.
I love Trey McBride. You know,
I do too.
I know you do.
I do believe that Marvin Harrison being added to the team definitely opens it up the offense. And I do think that he could be even better this year, right? I do want to make sure that I say that, right? Because again, I do believe that Trey McBride will outscore Kyle Pitts this year, but I don't think that delta is an early first.
No. Even if you call it mid, like at the end of the day, all of these tight ends are just going to produce in this 600 to 900 range and probably going to fall in the same bucket. I'm not spending an early to, we'll call it a mid first.
Give him the benefit of the doubt, man. Give him the benefit of the doubt.
Because the second and the third definitely don't make up that gap. Like,
absolutely not.
I mean, sloppy Eric, this is sicko mode for sure. Good work. What else can we say, Gabe? Like, what else can we say? That is a deal I thought old Gabiscon would pull down in one of our leagues, but you haven't. Unfortunately, one of us usually has McBride, so that doesn't always happen. But
that is true. That is.
Fantasy Warlord gives us 12-team start 11 Superflex. It's a 0.5 running back PPR. It's a full point per reception for wide receiver and a 2-point per reception for tight end. They have Anthony Richardson and Kyler Murray. Drake May was their third quarterback. So they sent away that Drake May, Dontavian Wicks, and a 2025 third. They got themselves into old G. Willikers, Garrett Wilson. Gabe.
Yeah, I mean, hey, go ahead and hit the buzzer. Hit the buzzer.
No. Yeah. What the hell? Give me Garrett Wilson, please. Like, I like Drake May. I think that we just spent what, 105 to get him.
Yeah, man, just about 105, maybe 106.
When I spend that, I don't want to ship him away in August to make that happen. Like, I usually want to take probably a year to a 2-year bet if I'm putting that kind of capital in him, because it's not going to look great out the gate. And guess what, Gabe? It doesn't look great out the gate, right? The offense is a brand new regime, brand new offense. No one looks good except for Javon Baker, the touchdown maker. But I mean, you're giving away Drake May, so the rights to Drake May, the rights to hopefully an elite outcome quarterback, Dontavian Wicks, who is another cog in the Green Bay offense, and a 25 third.
I've heard Dontavian Wicks is like the next Puka Nacua. He's a sleeper, man.
Oh yeah, no one's sleeping on Wicks anymore. I'll tell you that. But you're getting into Garrett Wilson in a 12 by 11 full point PPR for the wide receiver. You have AR, you have Kyler. I'll send away that May. You just get me into the G Will. Gabe, do you feel any different?
Absolutely not. Even if I were to give them the benefit of the doubt, and let's just say that was still the 105 this year, where they hadn't drafted yet, you giving up the rights to the 105. Maybe it's a little bit different, but still, like, I would want Garrett Wilson, because I don't think anybody's giving you Garrett Wilson for the 105 straight up 1-for-1. So Dontavian Wicks in a third don't make up that difference. So yeah, I agree with you. And you already have AR and Kyler. I mean, when is May really going to touch your lineup? Probably never, barring an injury. I mean,
you feel great knowing he's waiting in the wings, but it doesn't really change things for you end of the day. And I think that's really true. Like, I'm trying to put myself back in like April or May tie, and I don't think 105 really got you G Will. You probably had to add something. You probably had to add that Dontavian Wicks, and you might have to add a third. So it feels like you're paying I'll say maybe like the May and April price for May, when maybe we have to, and I've done this multiple years where I hold steadfast that the values I've had in these players are going to remain. And as we move into preseason, I haven't always kept an eye on the news, on the beat reports, on what's happening. And I don't adjust those values until I get to this point scoring season. And that's where you can really start to see some of these like rookies and the bean moves. Like, that's where some of these values can really fluctuate as we're approaching the next couple weeks here. So this does feel like a early, Drake May is the clear-cut starter. Jacoby Brissett, who it feels like that kind of a price, and I'm not there currently on May. So give me G Will in the 12 by 11, but maybe May puts, pie in all of our faces and you're laughing because Dontavian Wicks is wide receiver 1, but TBD on that.
Absolutely.
All right, here we go. Romero has a 12 team start 12, 1 PPR, 1 tight end premium, and a 1.1 point per carry. They gave up Devon Achane and Jackson Smith-Njigba, and they got back Marshawn Lloyd and that man Malik Neighbors. So Gabe, we weren't sending away. We were sending away, I guess, Malik Neighbors and a 26 first for CeeDee Lamb. I mean,
not willingly though. It definitely took a lot. Yeah.
It wasn't our first move or maybe even our third move, but we got there eventually. Yeah. Devon Achane and JSN. Gabe, this deal doesn't have a lot to do with the Marshawn Lloyd of it, and I'm trying to be respectful of the start 12.
Yeah.
But especially in the Destination Devy community, I'm just going to take Malik Neighbors for what I know I can do with that asset and just the insulated dynasty value. I like Achane. I think he can be a hammer. He could be one of those running backs who you would want to pay a first for because he can, as Shane says, put up crooked numbers.
Yep.
JSN, you're likely,
don't know.
You're probably happy if you get a liquid first for him.
I don't even know if you could get that right now for him.
So, Gabe, are you giving up 2 firsts for Malik Neighbors in a 12 by 12?
I think I would give up 2 firsts for Malik Neighbors. Yeah, I mean, that's, yeah.
I think I would too. I think I would too. And then you're just getting Marshawn Lloyd on the arm.
And right now, too, I mean, no matter how we slice it, Miami still has a little bit of a crowded running back room, too. Mm-hmm. Again, I mean, we saw it last year. They definitely use in running back by committee. I don't think Achane will be the clear-cut guy every single snap. And so, again, I don't know what Jackson Smith-Njigba will be, but we definitely hope he can become something. But yeah, I would rather take the shot on Malik Neighbors, especially with all the hype that he has around him right now. I think people are a little bit worried potentially on Achane because he has been injured a couple times now since he joined the league, and he is a little bit undersized. And I do think that people do have those concerns, right? And I think they're very valid concerns. And yeah, I mean, and again, another reason why I would just want the Malik Neighbors side for sure.
Yeah, and people like Marshawn Lloyd too, right? So that's not. That's
I
not
mean, hey, you can't. Hey, I was gonna say you just get a free Marshawn Lloyd. I mean, you can't pass that up.
No. Does the 0.1 point per carry change things at all in your valuation of Devon Achane?
I think it would change a little bit. Again, if it were any other running back, I do still think, again, to my point earlier, it's just a crowded running back room. I don't know that he's going to get the bulk of the work. I mean, I expect he probably will, but the reality is that he still has guys that are very competent right behind him. And so that's why I'd rather just stick with what I know and Malik Neighbors, because another thing is if Achane, and again, knock on wood, right? But if Achane goes out there and, gets injured or whatever, he's probably not going to retain his value as well as Malik Neighbors has if Malik Neighbors went out there and got injured, right? So again, you kind of got to look at it in a bunch of different lenses, at least kind of how I see it. And that's where, for me, I would just, stick to Malik Neighbors in this trade.
Yeah, stick to the rivers and lakes that you're used to. Keep me with that Malik Neighbors. Yeah, I mean, a 0.1 point per carry. It's also kind of like a Fugazi stat. I mean, like you need 10 carries to get
like that 0.5 premium. It's like that 0.5 tight end premium.
Yeah, it looks good on paper, but really what's the difference at the end of the day? Again, you're betting on Achane probably not having 10 carries a game because you want him to have like the efficient, like 40-yard plus plays. Like you're betting on those, not his volume. So it doesn't really change much for me in the big valuation, but yeah, just give me Malik Neighbors and we'll move on.
Yeah, I mean, and even then, like in a 1 point per, like to your point just a second ago, if he gets 10 carries, that's 1 extra point that he would get out of a normal league. Like it's not groundbreaking at all. So that's why for me it wouldn't make that much of a difference either.
Where it would make a difference for me is at that like flex 11 and flex 12 spot. Like I'm assuming you're not starting up running back over a quarterback, but that Rico Dowdle You know that Zeke is injured. You know, he's probably going to get more work this week. Taking bets on guys like that, that's where that point per carry might matter a little bit more to me. Now, if you're talking like the 0.2, 0.25, that's a different story. But 0.1,
Absolutely.
except in the margins, it's probably not going to matter. So, yeah. Okay. We're going to end on this one by old Vaughn. This is a big one, Gabe. Get your hat on here. Get your calculator, get your water, get your compass. We got a 12-team start 10, no premium. 0 premium.
No
Gabe.
premium. All right.
Okay. We got on one side, and that's all we got. Okay. It's a 12-team start 10. That's it.
12
David Montgomery, Jalen Hurts, George Pickens, and Puka Nacua. For Bryce Young, Jaden Daniels, Keon Coleman, a 2025 first, a 2026 first, and a 2025 second. So again, a 12 by 10. We got Jalen Hurts, David Montgomery, George Pickens, and Puka Nacua being acquired for Jaden Daniels, Bryce Young, Keon Coleman, a 25 first, a 26 first, and a 25 second. Pretty busy deal. A lot of big names, Gabe. We got to start crossing some things off in a 12 by 10.
Absolutely.
Where did your mind go first?
So 12 by 10, start 10, you want hammers. I mean, the depth is starting to become a little bit of a question mark, right? You have to start making sure you address a little bit of a depth, but still at start 10, I just want the best guys. And immediately my eyes go to Jalen Hurts. And that's where I would kind of start with this deal specifically. Jaden Daniels, he looked great in the preseason, or he looked great in preseason week 1. A lot of hype around Jaden Daniels right now. He's not Jalen Hurts. I would rather have Jalen Hurts over Jaden Daniels. And so I guess where I would start off just trying to, again, process of elimination. Let's just say Jaden Daniels in a first, any of those firsts really will probably get you to Jalen Hurts. I would say probably pretty close to there. So that's kind of where I would start to cross off.
There's someone furiously typing in the comments right now saying, absolutely not, go Birds. But yeah, I'm with you. Jaden Daniels in a first, that's a process move, right? You should probably take that. If you're trying to move off Hurts, that's probably the best deal you're going to get. So yeah, give me Daniels in a first. I'm with you.
Yeah, I agree. And so then I go from there, and let's say Keon Coleman in a second for Pickens. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, that's probably what it would take, right? If you have your Pickens, you're just betting that he's going to be a wide receiver 1, and that Brandon Ayuk is not coming to that offense. Keon Coleman is probably going to be a big play guy in the offense. I'm going to bet that Pickens has more, I'll call it like reliability, whatever that's worth it for you. So yeah, sure. Keon in a second for Pickens. I can see that happening. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, in a start 10, right? Are you going to want to like comfortably start Keon Coleman week over week? Probably not, at least not at the beginning, right?
If I do, I'm making sure he's my only option and I'm not leaving myself any wiggle room, right? Like,
yeah. And then from there, basically it just leaves us with Bryce Young in a first for Puka Nacua and David Montgomery. And again, I would take Puka Nacua over a first pretty easily. And then, I mean, Bryce Young and the delta between the first and Puka Nacua to Montgomery, I think it's fine. Again, I would definitely lean the Puka side of Montgomery over the first and Bryce, especially in a start 10. You would hope that you're not having to start Bryce Young week over week. So I think in the grand scheme of things, I would want the Jalen Hurts side. I do think it may be like a second too much. Value-wise, but again, I would want the hammers in this specific scenario. Like I would want the best guys essentially to kind of get me through, the league. Yeah.
This is interesting because I'm like, I like Jaden Daniels. Like that's real nice. Like I
want the flexibility.
I want the picks, but then the math don't math, Gabe. Like you said, like let's try and break it down a different way. See if we come to the same conclusion. Like George Pickens for a 2025 first. Is that a deal you're making?
Probably not. No, I want to just keep my first.
You want to keep your first. Okay.
Yeah.
So could we say that George Pickens and David Montgomery equal a 25 first and a 25 second?
Yeah, we could say that because I'd want Montgomery a little bit over a second right now. Yeah. So
Cool.
Yep.
Okay. So now we're left with Jalen Hurts and Puka Nacua for Bryce Young, Jaden Daniels, and a first. Right?
Yep.
Yeah. It's the Bryce Young. I think it's the Bryce Young. It feels like you're paying for 101 Bryce Young right now.
Yeah.
Like, and yeah, because Jaden Daniels and Bryce Young doesn't equal Jalen Hurts to me. I still want Hurts.
Yep,
and I definitely
agreed.
want a Puka over a first. So, Puka changes the math here. Bryce Young doesn't factor enough in there. Give me Hurts, Puka, Pickens, and Monty, and I'm gonna cry myself to sleep while I send away all those first and all.
Well, we
that
lose all the flexibility. Yep, that's
Man.
it. That's it. I mean, and don't get me wrong. I like Jaden Daniels, man. I think he will be very, very good. Pour one out for the picks right now.
Yeah, jeez. Okay.
But
I mean, yeah. Go ahead. You got this.
yeah, I was just gonna say again, like Jaden Daniels a lot, like what he can become. Similar to what we've said before, you're hoping Jaden Daniels can become Jalen Hurts, especially being a mobile quarterback. And I just know what I'm getting in Jalen Hurts. It looks like this is a move to really just push his chips in, where he's like, I just want to go and win it, get off of Bryce Young, whatever he will be. And again, hope for the best. But I do believe you're getting the hammers, you're getting the big difference makers, you're getting Jalen Hurts and Puka Nacua, who are two difference makers at both of their respective positions. And then you're getting a really serviceable running back in David Montgomery. And then, again, a good threshold wide receiver in George Pickens as well.
I think you nailed it there, Gabe. I think that's it. Like I like the stuff. I think I could do a lot with that, but no matter how I break that down, I just still want the assets that you're receiving there. So I like that deal a lot for you. And Gabe, we did the damn thing.
We did.
Congratulations on your first podcast, your first YouTube show. Hope it felt good. I think this is great. So tell the people where they can find you on Discord. And yeah, just I think we'll have to get you on again real shortly here, Gabe. But let the people know where they can find you, and yeah, take it away.
Well, it was an absolute pleasure. First off, I appreciate you letting me jump on here with you again. Anytime that I get to talk game with you or anybody, really, it definitely is a great time. You guys can find me in the Destination Devy Discord at iGabe7. Again, I'm in the Heisman tier, and we sit in voice chat all day long talking football. And so anytime you guys need any questions, or anytime you guys have any trade questions, or just need advice on anything league related, by all means, feel free to shoot me over a message. I appreciate you giving me this opportunity, though, Ty, just to, again, talk some game with you. And hopefully we gave some people some good content here for a little bit.
I mean, I hope people are really tuned in, because you're listening to the man who took down heroes versus villains, the biggest and craziest Heisman league that we have. And I mean, Gabe, I know you and I have had a lot of conversations, and we've grown in our game because we keep talking. And if you want to grow your game, if you want to get better, patreon.com/ALLGAS. Get in here. Make sure you're keeping up with everything over on destinationdevy.com. Articles, tools, everything. Underdog, get in there. And you know what to do with Underdog.
Go make
get
some
in
money.
there. Go make some money. Go, put that money in there. Get $250 on the arm. Get your special pick. Gabe, use code ALLGAS. You know that, right?
Absolutely. I wouldn't use anything else.
No, I mean, why would you? Gabe, we're gonna be talking ball for a good chunk of the season here, but make some bets today. Let us know in the comments. What would you do? Do you want that Hurts? Do you want that Monty, or do you want that Jaden Daniels and all those picks? Do you want that CeeDee Lamb, or do you want Malik Neighbors and all those picks? It's the time of year to make these kind of bets. So go have fun. Go make some deals. Throw them in the trade show. We'll chat about it next week. We out of this thing. Peace.